Around 2300 years ago, a poor teacher walked into the court of India's most powerful king. He carried no army, no title, and no gold, only a mind and a warning. His name was Chanakya. The king took one look at him, plainly dressed, dark-skinned, entirely unremarkable, and laughed. He mocked his appearance. He questioned what a poor teacher could possibly know about ruling an empire. And then, in front of the whole court, he had him seized by the hair and thrown out into the street. Most men would have swallowed the shame and walked away. Chanakya did something else. Cast out and humiliated, he untied his topknot and swore an oath. I will not tie my hair again until I have uprooted this empire. It sounds like the empty threat of a broken man. But within a few years, the Nanda dynasty, one of the richest kingdoms on earth, was gone, erased, and in its place rose the Mauryan Empire, the largest India has ever seen. It was built not by a warrior and not by a king, but by a teacher with a plan. This is the story of Chanakya, the man who built an empire with his mind. Stay to the end because his final lesson is the one most people miss. Part 1. The Making of a Mind. He was born around 375 BCE. Legend says he came into the world with a full set of teeth. An omen, the astrologers declared, that he would one day become a king or the maker of kings. His father was a teacher, a man poor in wealth but rich in the only thing Chanakya would ever truly value, knowledge. He studied at Takshashila, the great university of the ancient world, where students came from across Asia to learn medicine, law, warfare, economics, and statecraft. He mastered them all, and by his 30s, the student had become the teacher, one of the most respected minds the university had ever produced. He lived by a single conviction: knowledge is the one wealth that cannot be stolen, cannot be taxed, and only grows the more you spend it. But beyond the walls of the university, two storms were building. To the west, Alexander the Great was crossing into India, and the small kingdoms were falling one by one, not because they were weak, but because they refused to unite. To the east sat the Nanda king, who hoarded gold in his treasury while his own people were taxed to the bone. Chanakya saw what no one else wanted to admit. India was not in danger because its enemies were strong. It was in danger because it was divided and led by men who loved power more than they loved their people. So he made a choice. He left his comfortable, respected life as a teacher and walked straight toward the storm. Part 2. The Insult That Changed History. He travelled to Pataliputra, the glittering Nanda capital, with a single goal in mind: to warn the king of the danger gathering on the horizon and to reform a kingdom that was rotting quietly from the inside. Invited before the throne, the plain-robed teacher began to speak. But King Dhanananda never heard the warning. He saw only a poor, dark-skinned, unimpressive man standing before his golden court. What could a beggar scholar possibly teach a king? He sneered. And so his hair was seized, and he was dragged out and thrown into the street like a common thief. But watch closely what he did not do. He did not raise a mob that night. He did not reach for a sword, because he understood something that most angry people never learn. Revenge taken in the heat of anger fails, but revenge executed with patience and strategy can reshape history itself. From that day forward, before beginning any undertaking, he asked himself 3 questions. Why am I doing this? What might the results be? And will I succeed? Only when the answers truly satisfied him did he ever allow himself to proceed. He had his reason. Now he needed his method. And his method turned out to be a boy. Part 3. Finding Chandragupta. On his travels, he came upon a group of village boys at play, and one of them, acting as their pretend king, was calmly settling disputes and handing down judgments to the others. The boy's name was Chandragupta. Where everyone else saw a child of humble, obscure birth, Chanakya saw something rare: courage, natural authority, and hunger, the raw material of an emperor. For he believed something genuinely revolutionary in a world obsessed with caste and bloodline. A man is great by his deeds, not by his birth. He was about to stake the future of India on the idea that greatness can be trained. And so, for the next 7 to 8 years, he forged that boy at Takshashila, teaching him warfare, economics, law, diplomacy, and the subtle art of reading other men. He was not raising a soldier. He was carefully, deliberately manufacturing an emperor. Then came their first test. They struck straight at the heart of the Nanda Empire, and they were crushed. Defeated and in hiding, Chanakya overheard a mother scolding her child for burning his fingers on a hot plate of food. "You eat like Chanakya," she said, attacking the hot middle before the cooler edges. A six-village mother had just handed him his entire battle plan. Conquer the frontier first, secure the edges, win the allies, and only then close in on the capital. The wise, he learned that day, take truth from anyone who offers it. Part 4. The Fall of an Empire. So he changed everything. Win the frontier first, secure the edges, gather the allies. Spies, defections, and whispered propaganda became his weapons long before the first arrow was ever loosed. And slowly, region by region, alliance by alliance, the noose tightened around the capital. Around 321 BCE, Patliputra finally fell. The Nanda dynasty, the very empire that had once laughed him out of its court, was finished. And Chandragupta Maurya, the boy from nowhere, was crowned emperor. And at last, after all those years, Chanakya tied his hair. But he did not stop at revenge. When Alexander's general Seleucus came to reclaim the Indian territories, Chandragupta met him in battle and won. The peace was sealed with a treaty, a marriage alliance, and 500 war elephants. The Mauryan Empire now stretched from Afghanistan all the way to Bengal. And Chanakya? He refused the throne and he refused the gold. The single most powerful man in the entire empire chose to live, by every account, in a simple hut on the edge of the capital, owning almost nothing at all. Part 5. What he taught humanity. Empires rise and empires fall, but his two books did not. The Arthashastra, a startlingly detailed manual of statecraft and economics, and the Chanakya Niti, his sharp verses on life and human nature, both still studied more than 2000 years later. Education is the supreme weapon. A trained mind needs no army. Chanakya was living proof. A man with no wealth and no title brought down an empire using nothing but what he carried inside his own head. A leader serves, he never merely enjoys. In the happiness of his subjects lies the king's happiness. In their welfare, his welfare. Written 2000 years before modern democracy, it was a radical idea that power is a responsibility, never a privilege. Master your inner enemies first. Lust, anger, greed, and arrogance topple more kings than any rival army ever could. The Nandas did not fall to Chandragupta's soldiers. They fell to their own arrogance. Every downfall, he taught, begins from within. Test everything, trust carefully. As gold is tested by fire, a person is tested by their conduct in adversity. He did not say trust no one. He said, judge people by how they act under real pressure, not by their comfortable words. Think first, then be utterly relentless. Weigh a task carefully before you begin it. But once you have begun, permit yourself no retreat and no fear, because work done with sincerity never ever goes to waste. Adapt like water. The straight tree is the first to be cut down. Be good, but never be naive. Goodness without strategy, he warned, is simply an easy target. Detach from luxury, hold fast to duty. He built the richest empire of his age and lived in a hut. Chase the mission, he taught, not the reward. The reward corrupts you, only the mission purifies. Part 6. His purpose and his end. So what was Chanakya's true purpose? It is tempting to answer revenge, but the insult in that quote only lit the fuse. It did not create the fire. His real aim was a unified, well-governed and protected India. A nation strong enough that no invader could ever exploit its divisions, and just enough that it would never again rot from the inside. Every single thing he did served that one aim: finding and forging Chandragupta, writing the Arthashastra, the spy networks, the strategy, the quiet refusal of the throne. One man, one mission, and absolutely zero distractions. His end, fittingly, is uncertain. Some accounts say that decades later, deep into the reign of Chandragupta's son, palace politics finally turned against the old teacher, and wrongly accused, he withdrew from food and from life itself, dying as simply as he had always lived. Others say he simply walked away into the forest. History does not agree. But perhaps that uncertainty is exactly right. Chanakya never wanted to be the story. He only ever wanted to be the author of it. Remember where this man began. Insulted, poor, unremarkable, and completely powerless the day he made his vow. Every external factor in the world said that he would fail. He had exactly one asset, a trained mind pointed at a single, unwavering purpose. And that alone proved enough to redraw the entire map of a subcontinent. 23 centuries later, his words are still studied in war colleges, in boardrooms, and in governments around the world. Because the terrain of power changed, but human nature never did. And Chanakya, better than almost anyone before or since, decoded it. And so he leaves each of us with one simple question. You have a mind, you have time. What is your vow? If this story moved you, subscribe to Genosis and tell me down in the comments which of Chanakya's lessons hit you the hardest. Until next time, think deeply and act deliberately.